Hi guys, I'm Jacopo Gallelli, founder and CEO of Dynamite Studios. It's been 1 year since we've made the Fractured project public. 1 year of great challenges but also great satisfaction thanks to the support of our awesome and ever-growing community. Today is the day we take the project one step further. So let me tell you what Fractured is all about. When we started this project, we haven't approached it only as professionals in the gaming industry, but also as gamers ourselves, truly passionate about sandbox MMORPGs, a genre that we believe has a great deal of potential for innovation, but also presents several critical issues. First of all, the genre is typically not inclusive, which means it tends to alienate whole categories of gamers. For example, those of you who like a more friendly and cooperative environment because of hardcore player versus player rules, but also those of you who are maybe more mature and don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to a single game. Another big problem that always annoyed us are static worlds. Now, in sandbox MMOs, the economy is usually open and dynamic, but the rest of the game, not really. First of all, the environment is usually static, and combat is often also old-fashioned and static. Now, let's go through all the core features of Fractured so you can figure out how everything we've been making has been designed to fix these issues and give you a whole new kind of sandbox MMO experience. When you start your journey in Fractured, the first call you have to make is your race. Now, I know that the concept of race is nothing new in MMOs. In fact, it's been a staple of the RPG genre since its inception. However, the consequences of your race selection in MMOs are generally quite limited. Maybe they change the place where you start your journey or your basic attributes, or maybe the chain of quests that you have to follow to progress. In Fractured, the situation instead is completely different. Your race selection has far-reaching consequences. It dramatically impacts both your gameplay and the ways you can interact with other players.
Let's say that you want to play in a friendly environment and you want to cooperate with other people in order to create this nice community with mutual respect. If that's the case, you should definitely start playing Fractured as a beastman on planet Arboreus, and that's because each beastman is locked into a good alignment as long as he stays on his own planet, which literally means that he can't perform hostile activities against other players. In particular, the only form of player versus player is purely consensual. If instead you prefer a completely opposite scenario, which means that you like PvP in a really hardcore environment and you crave for the harshest kind of competition with other players, then you should start playing Fractured as a demon on planet Tartarus. That's because Tartarus features full loot open PvP and with really not any kind of restriction on it or hard-coded rules. The only thing that you should be worried about are other people and their retaliation. Basically, we have designed Tartarus as a heaven for people who think that the only law that matters is the law of the strongest.
Yeah, and finally you could sit somewhere between these two extremes that Andrea just told you about. You maybe like PvP and you like risk versus reward, but you also want to avoid the extreme consequences of these behaviors, such as the meaningless griefing. If that's the case, then humans and the planet they rule on, Syndesia, are a very good pick. Humans have a well-structured feudal society where crime is still possible, but it can have serious consequences. So you could either be the righteous governor of a town or the cruel bandit lord that just raided that town, and any path is really open to you if you're a human. The second place where we are trying to revolutionize the world of sandbox MMORPGs is progression. Now, in MMOs, the typical progression pattern is called vertical progression. In a vertical progression, your character becomes stronger over time, and that can happen in different ways. Maybe you gain experience point and your character levels up, or you gain skill points, or you complete achievements. Any way that happens though, one thing is always there: the grind. And by the grind, I mean the need to repeat the same action over and over and over. In Fractured, instead, we use a completely different system known as horizontal progression. When you create your character, you set its strengths and weaknesses by picking its attributes, and these attributes won't really change over the course of gameplay. So you are able to join your friends in the most epic adventure from day one and enjoy from day one what in other games would be called the end game. Instead, your character progresses by becoming more knowledgeable, and this happens by learning new abilities through a unique system of our design known as the knowledge system.
Yeah, this knowledge system has been designed to reduce repetition as much as possible. In particular, learning new abilities involves the completion of many different and unique tasks, such as traveling and exploring different parts of the world, interacting with different creatures, and completing many different activities, even weird ones like dying and coming back to life in a specific circumstance. With this system, a player, of course, will end up knowing hundreds of different abilities, which doesn't mean he will be able to use all of them at the same time. Quite the contrary, you will be able to fit only a few of them in your hotbar, for example. And to change those and memorize new ones, the only thing you need to do is to find the fire, may it be in your home or in a public inn or a bonfire in a camp that you just built. Sit down and enter the so-called resting phase, during which, of course, you can change your abilities, picking new ones that you already know, and build an overall new character that you may have in mind to start a different gaming section.
The first meaning of dynamic world is a world where everything you see is a potential resource used for building or crafting. Let's have a look at both. First of all, in Fractured, every item is crafted by players. Remember that time when we killed a giant rat and looted a double eggs from its corpse?
Yes, that's not something that's gonna happen in Fractured.
Yeah, definitely not. Also, when designing crafting processes, we've always paid attention to minimize grind. So the process that brings you from the raw resource to the complete product is engaging because it's challenging, not because it requires you to repeat the same action over and over.
Yeah, right. Take building a mansion of yours as an example. You don't really need to chop down 1,000 trees and gather hundreds of rocks and basically run back and forth to transport all of those resources in your inventory. The building itself requires only a handful of resources. The catch is finding those resources and being able to transport them. You have to organize expeditions to build carts and wagons or trade with other players. This same kind of concepts also applies to basic crafting for equipment or consumables. The amount of resources that you need is really limited. The point is that to finish your craft, you will require several unique steps. In the end, these processes are always varied and quite challenging, and therefore we really believe that they will never feel like a grind to a player.
Speaking of construction, starting settlements and evolving them into towns is fundamental for all the planets and races. This is because the planets and the regions within these planets are rich in some resources and totally lack others. This makes long-distance trade a key component of the economic system because guilds and corporations need trade routes to operate and expand, and trade routes need towns. So if a town is abandoned and decays, or is mismanaged or changes alignment, that can start a domino effect that has consequences on the political and economic landscape of the whole world. And that's the very definition of dynamism for us. Of course, it would be a shame if dynamism was only about crafting, but luckily it's not. It also applies to combat.
Yes, whenever you approach a fight in Fractured, understanding your surroundings and understanding how you can exploit them at your advantage is crucial. Even something as simple as a pond of water can become the key to overcome an enemy that would otherwise be beyond your possibilities. In this clip, for example, you can see Jacopo electrocuting some monsters through water, but he could also have decided to freeze the water in order to trap them, or even contaminated the water with poison. The possibilities really are endless.
Yeah, also, even if you don't exploit the environment, Fractured is definitely not a game where you can fight standing still. We have taking inspiration from classic action RPGs to create a combat system where there is no auto attack, there is no tab targeting, and all your action, even the simplest ones like the swing of your sword, are events that can be avoided or countered or even hurt someone you didn't intend to. So if you couple these action RPG mechanics with hundreds of spells that can interact with each other, that can generate environmental effect or alter existing ones, you really understand how every day is a new gameplay in Fractured. As you surely noticed, Fractured is an ambitious project. The full interactable environments, the large-scale battles that come with world colonization, managing all of these requires overcoming massive technological challenges. Luckily for us, we have an awesome world-building platform that helps us, SpatialOS. It combines a backend engine with hosting, it integrates with Unity right out of the box, and it's been designed to allow small teams like ours to make large-scope MMORPGs with a large open world and a virtually endless amount of entities in the same area. It's exactly what we needed to build Fracture. Other than that, the company behind it, Improbable, offers great support to studios working with SpatialOS, including a program that covers server expenses as long as the game is in development. We're going to join this program as soon as this crowdfunding campaign has been successfully completed. So, thank you all for watching this video and for your amazing support. You can follow us on fracturedmmo.com, our community boards, our social media pages, and our Discord channel. We can't wait to receive your feedback, and see you soon in game.